Hi everyone, it's Erin from EB Mixed Media. Today I am going to make a tag and I'm going to work with some embossing powder, and I'm going to make something similar to this one. This one I used Lindy's Magicals on the background, but I was thinking today I might try doing a Distress Oxide background instead. So let's get started and we'll see how it turns out. I'm going to be using my Fabulous Florals Bachelor Button stamp set. This is available at Joggles, but you can use any stamps that you have. What we're wanting to do is create a pattern on the background. So I've got this embossing ink pad. This is from Ranger. And I've got my floral stamp. So I'm going to put the ink all over my stamp. And then I am going to start stamping. And I don't know if you can see that. There's just a very slight, in fact, it doesn't look like I got very much on. We'll see how sticky it is. I'm sort of new to embossing. I'm gonna put a little more down here. And a little more up in this corner, maybe. Just kind of get it all over here. Okay. And then the next thing is to take your embossing powder. And again, this is white embossing powder from Ranger. And you want to cover your entire tag with it. And you might be thinking, oh my gosh, what a waste, but it's not, because, oh good, that stuck well. I wasn't sure. That looks good. Can you see that on there? Okay. And then let me just set that aside for a minute. And I've got this piece of paper under here that's sticking. And I'm going to pick that up. So all that goes right back into the jar to be used again. So it's not as if you're going to use the whole container on one project. It is a little messy, I find. You'll find it all over the place. And I want to be sure to clean off my stamp. I'm not sure what would happen if that stuff is left on to set. And I'm just using a baby wipe to do that. Now you can use a blow dryer or a heat tool. I just happen to have a heat tool because my son had a heat tool, and I think it works much more quickly. And the heat tool will start to melt that embossing powder. You can see it happening now. See how it's really cool to watch. And that's it. The blow dryer works as well. It just takes a little bit longer. When I made this tag, as I mentioned before, I used Lindy's Magicals, which are a pigment powder that I sprinkled down, sprayed with water, and then it sort of just spreads out on the page and you get a really nice shimmer. So that's a really easy way to cover a tag. For this one, I decided I was going to try these Distressed Oxides. And so I've got my acrylic block here. And I'm going to take my Distress Oxide, this one is Worn Lipstick, and add it like so to the block, and then spray it with water. And I'm just going to dip my tag in that, like that. And you can see that the embossing acts as a resist, and so those white lines are not covered up. They don't pull the ink in, and they remain white, which is a really cool effect. Let's add some purple here. I didn't even clean that off. I'm going to let it even blend in a bit. I'm going to add some of this. This is called Seedless Preserve. It looks very purple here, but it comes out more of a, I don't know what color that is. A raspberry? I don't know. Maybe that's why it's called Preserve. It doesn't look as grape to me though. It's more of a berry color, which is really pretty. And then if we want to, we can add this chipped sapphire right in the mix. And that will probably blend in, yes, and make kind of a purple, which is pretty. And we can just put that in a few spots. And like I said, the white is still showing and it acts as a resist. So that's a really cool way to create a background very, very quickly. Let's let this dry and we'll keep going. Next, I'm going to be stamping this botanical. I'm going to do that using the leaves that are included in the Fabulous Florals Bachelor Buttons stamp set. If you don't have leaf stamps, you could just go ahead and freehand your botanical. I'm going to go ahead and stamp this. So I've got my archival ink. This is waterproof ink, and it's important that it is waterproof. Before I start, I'm going to make a line to guide where I place my leaves, giving it a little bit of an arc. And I'll start by doing the one at the top. I'm going to try to line that up on my line that I've just drawn. I did okay, but we'll fix it. And then I'm just going to go down the stem. And I think 3 is a good number for this size tag. And then I'm going to switch out and choose the other leaf in the set and go this direction. Oh, I didn't get a great stamp there, but I'll show you how to fix it. The way you fix that is with your black pen, and I'm using a Sakura Jelly Roll pen. It's one of my favorite pens. Is we want our pen line to match the width of our stamp line. So we can just connect these and thicken up that branch as we go. You could probably maybe use a Sharpie, not a Sharpie, but a Papermate Flare, like a felt tip if you wanted, that has a wider nib or point. But I think this works just fine. And it's supposed to have a hand-drawn look anyway. Okay, next step is watercolor. That is why you want the waterproof ink. This is my new Mei Liang watercolor set. Paul Rubens Art was gracious enough to send this to me recently. It's a more inexpensive level of paints than their professional line. I'm finding them really nice. So I'm going to use those. I've got a paintbrush here, a paint pen, I guess. It's got a barrel, empty barrel full of water. Yeah, that's kind of a nice, I think, color. See what that one looks like. I might like that better. It looks a little bit deeper. And so I'm just going to start out here. And I like to just go very light initially. You can always build up color as you go. And this is not watercolor paper that I'm using. I'm using mixed media paper for this. The watercolor paper is very thick to cut, and the texture of the watercolor paper can sometimes catch your stamp. But if you prefer watercolor paper when you're doing watercolor, then by all means. Let's see what this is. Ooh, that's really pretty. So let's drop some of that in. It's a deeper blue. Let's put it kind of where the leaf meets the stem. And got this area here where the leaf's like turning in on itself. That's gonna be a little more dark, a little darker than the others. I think that looks nice. I'm feeling like actually I don't like that. So let's see if we can pull that back out. I thought I might want a little more green, but I'm not liking it. But now I've got a little bit of it in there. So I added some blue back into it to make it more of a Tiffany box kind of green. That's okay. I like that. Fine. Okay. I think that's perfect. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna let that dry and cut it out. And I also want to go in, and I should have done that before I painted, but fill in a little bit where my stamp, I didn't have quite enough ink on my stamp, or I didn't press down hard enough, one of the two. And I can just correct that with my pen. And if you feel like the watercolors dulled your lines, you can go over them again as well. Okay, so we'll let that dry and cut it out. My tag is relatively dry. I have my botanical cut out here. I've also pulled some scrap pieces of paper that I thought we could use. This is a piece of craft paper, and I have stamped on that with the background stamp and the set, and used a pink Posca pen to just color in those circles. This one I've created a pattern, and I'm going to show you how I did that. I've got this piece of paper that's got some beautiful metallics on it, and I have the border stamp from the set, which I'm going to use with the Distress Oxide, and I'm going to use this border to make kind of a crosshatch pattern. So I'm just going to stamp across, which would look fine if you wanted to do something like that and leave it like that. But then I'm going to go turn my page and do like a crosshatch. And I wasn't being too even or anything with it, because what I want to do now is spray it a little bit. And that spritz is going to cause the Distressed Oxide to activate and get all runny and blurry. And that, I think, makes for a really pretty effect. So there's that one. And then the other thing I've found that's kind of fun to do with the stem stamp is to make a really neat graphic paper by stamping with this in black in a repetitive pattern. So here's my black ink. And I guess I'll just go this way. So I'm just stamping that stem down and you get this really great graphic black and white line effect, which I think is super cool and impactful. And that's from using the stem. So take a look at your stamps and think about other ways you might be able to use something that doesn't maybe look as obvious. For example, maybe you have a bird stamp of some sort. I don't know, I'm just trying to throw things out there. Or even another floral. If you stamped it in the Distress Oxides and sprayed it, and it bleeds out, you never know what kind of design you might get, and it might not be recognizable as a bird or a floral or whatever your stamp is, but it could be a really cool effect, and it may be a way to stretch out your use of your stamps, especially if you bought something that was very specific, say for a baby shower or a birthday cake or something, like that you maybe only used once or twice, and that might give it some new life. Okay, so let's start assembling this. I've got some funky ribbon that I really like that I used on this one. I have another ribbon for the tag, for the ribbon to go in the hole there. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. So I'm gonna have that going there. Let's put this, and then I wanna have some of these papers. Definitely wanna use this. I think it's really cool. I like the craft paper. And I really do like this as well, but maybe not that much of it. Maybe we just do a square like so. I think that looks really cool. I also have this gel plated one that I really like too. I wonder, do I want to put that on there? Yeah, I think I like that contrast better. And we'll just pile those on. I think that looks cool. So let me glue those down. I've been really into the metallic paints lately, and so that's what a lot of these I've been playing with. This was metallics on the gel plate with some stencils. I don't remember how I had this, but we'll just go maybe that way. And put this in like so. And then we've got our botanical, which you can see I stamped on the back. I did something on the back and didn't like it, so I just flipped it over and reused the other side of the paper. Waste not, want not, right? Put that down. And then we've got our trim at the bottom here, which I think is so cute. It's a real pop of color. I've got a sentiment here that I stamped already, and I distressed it up, and I also added some outline on the letters in gold. Put that there. And then we'll add our ribbon. I'm kind of feeling like I want to just dress up the edges a little bit, maybe. Just a tad. They're just looking a little stark. And it ties in better with that. And there you go. A super cute tag. Using a lot of different elements. So it gives it a lot of texture and a lot of interest. And the majority of the stamps, if not all of them, except for the stencil bit here, came from this set. So I hope you enjoyed that. I will be back again soon with another video. In the meantime, you can always find me on Instagram. I'm at EB Mixed Media. That's EB_Mixed Media. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.